Hey, you're listening to Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 99.3 FM. Yes, now I'm plugged myself in. There's nothing more. Anyway, Dr. Craig, and joined by Lord Taylor.
Hello.
Oh, are you on?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hello. Okay, there we go.
Because today's show is set up again around our investigation into how to do good intros to radio, which this is an example just to get people ready for why good intros are important.
Yeah.
By demonstrating how challenging intros can be. So welcome to Media Mothership, broadcasting out of Edge Radio Studios in Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. I'm your host, Dr. Craig, joined by Lord Taylor.
Hello.
Yep. And we explore how media can shape our understanding of the world around us. We're streaming on edgeradio.org.au as well as on YouTube and Twitch. You can message us on the chat on 0488 11707. So you need to minimize that screen so I can see the chats.
Oh, wait. Yeah. No, wrong one. There we go.
Yep. So today we're going to discuss some news and special effects, such as that deliberately chosen special effects sound of creakiness.
Yes.
Because we're also doing some creaky classic Golden Age radio analysis. Oh, thank God. We've got your jingles. They're going to save the show, man. I am... Yep. So I'm just going to ask you to play jingles.
Yep, sure.
I hope you've got a lot.
Yeah, I've got heaps.
Great. And these are all jingles you've created yourself, Lord Taylor.
Yes, they are.
Excellent. From previous.
Yep, from about 10 years worth of making songs.
Oh,
and I've chosen the weirdest ones. So.
See, it's all paying off now. Okay, so we're going to do Duffy's Tavern, but we'll get around to that more in the second half of the show. But first, news. Let's play a jingle. That is fantastic. I feel like we're a youth broadcaster with that. And this show is a youth show.
Yeah.
More because of those. All right, so story number one is, again, these stories are all AI related. I'm pretty fixated on AI.
Yes, it's quite strange.
Yeah. It's not strange. It's tapped in. So the first news piece is indeed, if the Secret Invasion title credits aren't an ethical use of AI art, then what is? And
what does any of that mean?
Oh, wow. All right, let's unpack it. So this is an article from TC, TechCrunch, and it's talking about the latest Marvel contribution to media culture, which is the Secret Invasion series. So that's just launched on Disney+, and there was controversy around the fact that the title sequence was all generated by AI.
Right.
I don't know if it's DALL-E or Stable Diffusion, but it caused a polarization or a lot of angry comments about how of a cop-out this was, how the timing's really bad during the writer's strike, and flagging concerns around AI. But I like the TechCrunch article because it maps out what the intent was behind this to begin with, right? So it talks about how, this wasn't a Disney executive or a Marvel executive just typing in a couple of words and making it. So this was a creative choice by the company that does credits such as this, as well as tons of others, to basically set up the key theme of this series. So Secret Invasion, for those that don't know, is about kind of aliens who can shapeshift to look like humans. So it's got this whole kind of questioning of who is real and not real. So in some ways, their framing of using the AI, and there's a couple of quotes where they interviewed creative staff about it, was to deliberately speak to the theme of the Secret Invasion piece, which is all about, the kind of duplication, copying of humans and the kind of paranoia, fear, and also offness of that copy that they're speaking to. Oh, we might have a message. I'll read that later. The copying. So if you watch the opening credits, for those people that have Disney Plus, you'll notice that it's deliberately off-putting, right? It's deliberately all the janky AI image vibe.
Right.
So
okay.
it's kind of got the likeliness of Samuel L. Jackson, but it's off. It's an off kind of. It's not a photoshopped image of Samuel L. Jackson. It's a kind of computer generated AI offness. So it's the hands look okay in it, which is something. But yeah. So yeah, look, it's interesting how this company itself was arguing that the choice of doing AI here fit the theme of it, which is all about the act of copying. In this case, the Secret Invasion is about Earth being invaded by shape-shifting aliens.
Yeah.
Because
I'm just
normally
having a look at it now.
Yeah. So you can certainly check out, do your YouTube search, or TechCrunch has it on their webpage as well. What's interesting about it is they're not disguising the AI. It's not like they've asked the AI to create it and then they've spent a few days improving it. They've pretty much left it as what many people are familiar with as the first draft that AI will produce. That kind of slightly off, slightly wrong, uncanny valley-ness of it.
Yeah.
And deliberately aping other styles, right? You can kind of immediately sense that it's just copying styles.
Yeah, it's quite like the old 1970s sort of like science fiction covers.
It has that. Yeah,
periodicals,
that kind of like a Arthur C. Those covers that used to appear on Arthur C. Clarke books, or Heinlein, or Frank Herbert, or what could be another? Conan, Barbarian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Yes. That's the first bit, which I thought was interesting, because that's rather than just complaining or setting up a polarizing debate, it's saying, well, it's not as easy as that. In this case, there's an actual artistic reason for it, which I thought was interesting. Next piece of news, if we've got a jingle for it. Wow. Again, I'm enjoying the kind of mechanical sounds it does fit with the AI. Next piece is from SBS News talking about what would Jesus do? Here's one way to find out, and it's a chatbot that's been created as AI Jesus. And it was just a matter of time before we arrived at this point. What's fun about this piece is that Christians are also praising it, right? Saying that, this is an interesting entryway to having a discussion that can lead to a gateway into some themes of Christianity, right? So there's a quote here from Mr. Simmerlane, who is a philosopher from the University of Vienna, who has been using this service, and he was saying, it's interesting because in his point of view, you end up with a pretty solid church service. He feels from this. He's quoted as saying, "In the next few years, or perhaps even months, we will see the emergence of sects devoted to the worship of artificial intelligence." I mean, we've always encountered that as a joke. In terms of, I do remember the Reddit plays Twitch plays Pokemon one. Which one was it? Where one of the early Pokemon games was basically crowdsourced in terms of its moves, and as those moves occurred, various kind of fake cults developed around some of the moments within it. The Pastafarians, so there's, I don't know if I'd if I'd see it as seriously as this philosopher is seeing it. But yeah, we could start a cult up.
I think it's crazy.
Close.
Professor MacArthur believes that there are a number of ways people could come to see AI as a higher power. That's
delusional, right?
Delusional.
I mean, yeah. I mean, at this point, I think what's been interesting to me about some of the discussions around the level of AI and chatbot we're at is the point that it's replicating and trained on material which is copying and reflecting existing data. It's not actually that kind of, what is it, that artificial generalized intelligence. It's not yet at that next point. It's simply being able to create meaningful replies or answers to questions because of its training on previous one. It's not sentient.
no.
Which I guess is the speculation that this piece is saying. But it is interesting, I would like what would Dumbledore do? AI app? Right? We were close to it with some of our theatrical dramas.
Exactly, yeah.
But as you point out, weirdly, the training that you've done with the Harry Potter books to create your fan fictions is that Dumbledore seems to be very violent.
Dumbledore is always very violent.
And it must be his proximity to violence.
I assume so.
Yeah. And again, that's an example of, the training you can do can get things wrong, right? That the Dumbledore's character, because we assume the training that the AI had to create the fan fiction pieces of Dumbledore's character and the pieces you've created was around violent acts. It's confused that to say, therefore, Dumbledore is violent.
Indeed, yes.
So, what would Dumbledore do might actually not be the best of advice you'd get from that. Would you like to get an app like that? What fictional or historical character would you like to train up to then, be the chatbot you could ask questions for? Like, what would Jesus do? Kind of.
Queen Elizabeth.
Wow, Queen, like the one that just passed away.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let's go into that. That's why. I mean, she's a famous figure.
Yes.
Is she known as a wise person? Is there kind of like...
Well, she's always done really good Christmas messages.
Oh, nailed it. Yeah. I've not listened much into them. What are they like?
They're always uplifting. I mean, they're written by somebody else, probably a great ghostwriter, but they always have messages of hope, upliftingness.
So that's a good data set to train on for, what would Queen Elizabeth do? Because you're going to get a kind of Christmas end of year statement. Well, as we look forward to the next year, we can be bold in our hopes of greatness.
Exactly.
Something like that. Okay, that surprised me. Yeah. A real historical figure.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you put me on the spot and I haven't thought of anything.
Well, you are Lord Taylor, so royalty. All right, let's go to the next article with the jingle.
Okay.
You're listening to Media Mothership. That one just felt like I could do an outro with. That was nice. All right, next article is from Cracked, and it picks up this idea that we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago where a council in Victoria had given, for administrative purposes, all the trees that they were caretaking email addresses for administrative reasons, right? And then the public got to know about them and started sending love letters to them. Anyway, here's an article from Cracked, which has done a deep trawl through the internet, finding all of these emails that were mentioned in fictional shows, which for a while actually existed, and has tried to email them again. So the headline is, here's what happens when you email Homer Simpson, Bender from Futurama, and a bunch of other fictional characters. And basically it goes through a number of moments in a show, like the one for Bender, for example, from Futurama. His email is bender@ilovebender.com, and it's its origin is from a direct-to-DVD movie in 2007 called Bender's Big Score, where his email is mentioned, right? And then people began to email it. And for a while it did exist, but their investigation has shown that now nothing happens. You get bounced emails. So there's Bender from Futurama, there's Homer from The Simpsons called ChunkyLover53 at AOL.com. And the current response for that is address not found. Your message to ChunkyLover53 cannot be delivered. And the origins of this is back in 2008. Simpsons writer Matt Selman wrote a piece about Homer's email address for the Times article. Right, so allegedly, he had an email called ChunkyLover53. Parks and Recreation Stinkmaster69. If there's any Parks and Recreation fans out there, again, an email used in the show. That now, the response is address not found. Todd Packer from The Office has packer@dundermifflin.com. Unfortunately, you get delivery incomplete. Now this email again is referenced in an episode of The Office. Do you recall it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because what's the setup with that email? Michael Scott accidentally sends it.
Yes, he's accidentally sending an image to Packer. He means to send it to Packer, but sends it to packaging instead.
Right. So instead of packer@dundermifflin, he sends it to packaging at Dunder Mifflin. Yep. So the crack team emailed Packer's email, but didn't get a response. Liz Lemon from 30 Rock, Tater Tot Freak at hotmail.com. And again, the origins are from a 2012 episode. It was meant to exist then. I'm not familiar with Strong Bad from Homestar Runner.
Neither.
Yep, so we'll skip that. Mr. Robot, Elliot Alderson, Elliot Talderson at Pronto Mail. Yeah, so again, Chewie Griffin from Family Guy has an email. BoJack Horseman, Cuddly Whiskers, cuddly.whiskers at harvard.edu. Lewis Must Die at yahoo.com is Stewie Griffin's one, which is quite amusing in-joke. Veep featured an email. King of the Hill, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, F.Reynolds at warthog /orgyfart.edu. Lisa Simpson. Yeah, unfortunately, all of these came back as address not found. Which is a shame. Yeah, again, that idea that at particular moments emails exist and these were all fictional. They could have been used as a joke. I know during series, sometimes there'll be people that will take the Twitter accounts of particular characters, and then there'll be a debate which happens with someone else. Like there'll be one with Anakin Skywalker Twitter account starting to slam down the owner of the Obi-Wan Kenobi Twitter account, and they'll do this mini fan fiction of banter. It's fun while it lasts, but then it does disappear, and you try to retrace, like, where are they now? The Anakin Skywalker Twitter holder. But would it be interesting to you? Would you like to go back and find some of these emails, and would you actually like to have a conversation with any of these fictional email holders?
Well, not really, because it's either going to be like a stock standard response, or as it says with the, it was the Homer one, one of the writers signed up for his private email address as the Chunky Lover 53, and he started replying as Homer, and then he got so many, he just put dough back and then just gave up completely.
Yeah, you'd be swamped. I mean, it would be something you could create a chatbot to do.
Yeah.
Right? Potentially there's a great future there of doing a one of those kind of real life RPG things with a chatbot that would have unlimited time and patience to do that. Any character in particular you'd like to create a chatbot for? Bender, Homer.
Oh, I don't like that stuff.
Stinkmaster69 from Parks and Rec.
I'd probably say,
Pecker.
Ralph from Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, that would be kind of nice. All right, let's skip to the next jingle. It's nice. Yeah,
Cheers.
I forgot about this article. Thanks for bringing it up. Right, this article is one that really interested me, and I confess, I haven't read it all, but I love the title. And the title is Prisoners Consider Java Coding Books More Dangerous Than Mein Kampf. What's interesting here is that at a prison, the list of banned books doesn't include texts like Mein Kampf. This was in Ohio, and it's saying that people can get their hands on these classics of extremist visions such as Mein Kampf, but the list of books that are banned include A Smarter Way to Learn JavaScript and Effective JavaScript. And
just Effective Java. Java and JavaScript are different.
Oh, right. Effective Java and A Smarter Way to Learn JavaScript.
Correct.
I'm learning something right now. So the justification for these bans is apparently that these coding guides pose a threat to the rehabilitation of inmates. Again, it's that kind of reflection of the fear that, I guess, hacking has, computer usage has. It's really surprising. Look at the effect it's having on you, Taylor. Are you surprised that we're still living in this kind of fear of hackers learning how to do JavaScript? I mean, where could you go with JavaScript that could possibly be menacing?
Well, I suppose it's just learning about how computers work, I guess. I suppose you could make some sort of bad sort of thing with it.
Like
steal
a bad
information sort of thing.
Well, I mean, you could do bad video game.
Exactly.
I mean, the step to steal information, I don't know if you could get that from a smarter way to learn JavaScript.
It could be applied, I guess.
Well, it's like banning, at university, right, there's computing courses. It's like, hey, professor, there's no JavaScript learning here. It's all on the side there. Come back later at night, and I'll teach you those dark arts. I mean, is JavaScripting considered a dark art?
Of course not.
So it is funny that the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction has made this decision of banned books, including, the effective JavaScript.
JavaScript's good. It's my favourite programming language.
Should I be worried about you?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, if prisons are banning the reading of JavaScript books on elements of Java, what fear should we all hold towards those currently trained in these arts? Oh,
nothing, because I don't know much.
It's an interesting moral panic because there were moments like in the past with Dungeons and Dragons where simply having possession of a D&D book, people could in the 80s have a fear that you were into Satanism all of a sudden.
Yes. If
you were listening to heavy metal. Now it turns out, if in your school backpack is elements of Java, you're immediately going to have suspicions around that you're
criminal.
Yeah, you're part of Anonymous. Is Anonymous still around?
I haven't heard much from them.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's because the prisons have cleaned up their effective Java library. It's working, I guess. Fascinating. Well, it will be interesting to do an analysis of Australian prisons and what books are banned here.
Yeah.
And if any Australian prisons similarly have banned Java coding books. As a concern. I think we could, I'm curious about this. I think we could, if it wasn't real well, I would say it's a fascinating little radio drama to create. And that's, that's news.
That's the news.
So shall we do a jingle? Well, we could do the flash piece.
Okay.
Let's do it. That was good. Sorry. Crinkling in the background. Yeah, I did find one interesting article on the Flash movie. You haven't seen it yet, though, have you?
No, I haven't. And I probably won't. And if I do, it'll be in a way that I don't have to pay for it. It just has to be on the television.
Is this something to do with Java again? No. Is this Java coding? You're going to use your Java coding skills to watch it?
No, just I'm going to watch it for free, wherever it is, just on the television, if it ever comes out. And even then, I might not watch it.
You should just say Java skills. I mean, that's you get out of free jail card. Get out of free jail. Yeah, it's like you get pulled over for speeding, and it's like, you just have a Java book sitting next to you. And the police officer will come and go, "Oh, God, sorry, sir."
No, but that's evidence of criminality. You have to throw it out the window.
Yeah. But maybe they're so threatened by that. They don't want you to hack them. Anyway, article about the Flash just isn't good endpoint for DCEU. What I liked about this article from IGN was that it made a kind of clever point that the latest Flash movie is all about a multiverse idea. And the character development that the Flash goes through is the idea that, you really can't change the past. You have to own the past. I mean, it's not really a spoiler. It's a classic kind of
trope. Yeah.
But what this article is pointing out is that it's ironic that the DCU can't learn from the very theme of that movie. That the movie in itself is about erasing the Snyderverse and,
the what?
The Snyderverse? You don't have dinner conversations about the Snyderverse?
No.
It's not like a kind of like, hey, Snyderverse today was a bit weird. Like, okay, Snyderverse is a reference to the director who made the Man of Steel and the following films, and there was that brutal kind of fan backlash with how Justice League was transferred to Joss Whedon to do the final bit, where they changed it slightly. Anyway, the idea being that the Snyderverse didn't quite work, and now under the new leadership of Gunn, they're basically cutting the current DCU and relaunching it all. So I think we've still got the Aquaman movie. But it's interesting that so the Flash is kind of one of the last films in this vision of the DCU. Mm-hmm. And the feeling like there's always been criticism of it, and there's been course corrections. And so this article was talking about how this is a course correction, but also it's interesting that it's all about, owning the past in terms of the character. Barry Allen has to own the past and understand that, you can't just erase the past and have a clean slate and move forward. You have to come to terms with it and make it part of who you are. You have to accept it.
Yeah.
Yet, here we have the DCU we know is going to erase this whole series of films. In fact, one of the key characters, the Batman character, the actor that played him, Ben Affleck, literally is erased and replaced with another character in this film. And we know that Superman's being recast. So it's ironic that the DCU is actually kind of doing the errors that Barry Allen,
the character, does within the show.
The character is doing within the show. Yeah. And they're not learning. So yeah, I thought that was clever. I just wanted to call that out. It was a clever article. Read it, IGN. I'll put a link up to it. It was, yeah. Should we go to a jingle?
Sure.
I'm going to get tissue. Is this a long jingle? All right. We are back again. I was, rapping. Now we've got the next segment.
The next segment. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So next segment is Top 10 Best Old Radio Show Intros Part 1. And last we left you with was
Fat Man.
Fat Man. And now we're moving on to Duffy's Tavern. So let me just cue it up. So for those that haven't listened to Duffy's Tavern before, we'll use guide, Jeff Jorgensen's video on the top 10 best old radio show intros, part 1, to set it up, because I'd not heard of Duffy's Tavern before going through this list, and it sent me down quite a rabbit hole. But let's start with Jeff Jorgensen's summary of it. It's not this.
Number 8, Duffy's Tavern. The only comedy on my list, the Duffy's Tavern intro immediately brought the listener into the action with a phone call from owner Duffy to the tavern's manager Archie, played by Ed Gardner. Duffy himself never appeared in the program, but the one-way banter from Archie was different every week and set the table for the antics of the episode. Despite being billed as where the elite meet to eat, Duffy's Tavern was not a...
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Here's
I'm
just
muted.
one hilarious every week and set the table for the antics of the episode. Despite being billed as where the elite meet to eat, Duffy's Tavern was not a high-class establishment. Here's just one hilarious intro example.
Hello, Duffy's Tavern, where the elite meet to eat. Archie the manager speaking. Duffy ain't here. Oh, hello, Duffy. Oh, nothing new. The letter carrier was just in. Delivered a stack of poison pen letters. Yeah, bills. Well, so much for the bulk of the mail. Now for the complaints. There's a letter here from the Department of Sanitation. Yeah, they say we'll have to do something about the garbage, Duffy. Yeah, they claim it ate a hole through the bottom of their truck.
Number 7.
I mean, it is hilarious.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea of garbage eating through the garbage truck because it's so toxic. So, yeah, as you can tell, it's a kind of comedy show. Oh, sorry. Yeah, performance very different from the other two we had. So we had The Fat Man and Gangbusters, which are much more conventional intros. Because if we have a look at our list of how a intro is best created, the key elements of an intro is that it should hook the listener's attention. So a radio show intro should grab the listener's attention in the first 10 seconds or so and make them want to stay tuned for more. So in a way, that kind of like a phone call coming in.
It's like direct into the action.
Yeah, and you hear a funny joke, and you're kind of hooked if you're finding that funny to hear the next setups and routines. The elements of a radio show should include voice. So this one clearly is mainly the voice. Archie, who is the manager of the tavern, Duffy's Tavern. Music, it does have a kind of piano honky-tonk intro or jazz piano intro. Sound effects, you got the phone ringing, right? So you got a prop, and within that prop, a whole setup of the theater of the mind that we're visualizing. And episode information. A lot of these have announcers. So I'll play a clip in a second where, it's set up with an announcer first, and then they go to Duffy's Tavern. So these elements should be used strategically and creatively to create a vivid and realistic soundscape that appeals to the listener's imagination and emotions. They should convey the main theme, questions, and problems that will be explored through the show. Yeah, so I think people get quickly that it's a comedy show. So it establishes genre and tone very quickly through the gags. Like, these are clear gags. Setting characters are good in terms of, the phone call and the device of the phone call. Sets up a really clear idea of the characters and what they're doing, and guests are coming in to the pub. I guess there's some anticipation and curiosity also that should be created in there. Any thoughts so far from you? I can play another example. I'll play...
Because we've both made ones in this style.
Yeah, we have.
I forgot that it needs to be... to create a vivid and realistic soundscape that appeals to the listener's imagination and emotions in my one.
And I think through that failure, I just got to call it out. I think through that failure, we entertain people.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because, I certainly... Where did mine go wrong? Don't worry, we'll get to mine. I'll unpack all the failures of mine, but they're all, as Bob Ross would say, happy accidents.
Fair enough.
Right, so full of happy accidents. What's really interesting about the intro is, or the setup for Duffy's Tavern, why it's considered such a good example of an introduction, is that it's a kind of guest show, right? So famous celebrity guests come in.
Right, yeah.
Quite often. And each episode will feature a famous Hollywood star or singer or performer who comes in and is part of the setup and routine. So I'll play a quick clip for the intro for the Milton Berle. I don't know if any listeners remember Milton Berle.
Well, I don't know who that is.
He's an actor from the 1940s. So, of course, this series was during the 40s. So, first episode 41. So, yeah. So, this is the Milton Berle episode setup.
Where is it?
It's coming. It's got that rotating ring thing on YouTube.
Buffering.
Yeah, buffering. There you go.
The Special Service Division invites you soldiers, sailors, and Marines of the United Nations to drop in at Duffy's Tavern.
So kind of announcer there. Then we have the jazz piano.
Hello, Duffy's where the elite meet to eat. Archie, the manager, speaking. Duffy ain't here. Oh, hello, Duffy. Duffy, you know who's coming down here tonight? Milton Berle. Yeah, the star of the new Ziegfeld Follies. What? Has he got nice legs?
There's I was just pausing because there's those moments where it dates badly are also nice in terms of like, wow, that's dated. I mean, there's misogyny, sexism dripping out the sides of the whole series. What's interesting, there's also a regular female character, Mrs. Duffy, who's the wife of the owner, Duffy. But she is a constantly flirtatious, predatory woman, always looking to hit on some of these guys. We'll keep listening.
Duffy, please, you remember Milton, the kid that used to steal the joke books? Yeah, then say that he made up the jokes himself? Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, Milton. Duffy, with you, everybody's a bum.
So it's got also that wonderful vernacular, right? One of the other reasons why this is considered a really good intro is the distinctive voice of Archie that we're hearing there, the manager, that he's speaking in a really thick New York accent. And he's using all of these mixed metaphors and the wrong word sometimes, which, it's interesting because, people point to how radio's changed, like from the 90s with Triple J, bringing in more authentic Australian voices and being less concerned with that BBC voice. It's fascinating here, in 1941, Duffy's Tavern being considered important because it's funny and authentic to the New York accent. And as all these references and vernacular, like is a bum, of that day, which was really, really endearing. Also, I didn't mention at the start, it also has this catchy slogan that it uses in the intro for all of the episodes, which is where the elite meet to eat. Which I guess, you've got Hollywood celebrities coming in, so there is some eliteness, but it's meant to be a kind of, very much the regular cast are kind of this working class bar that's not at all elite. It's actually quite low class. So, I guess playing into that humor of it as well. Let's listen to a little bit more to get some of that flavor.
Well, Duffy, why don't you be more like me? You know the New Year's resolution I made? What? Stop stealing from the cash register? No, Duffy, I resolved that I will help my fellow man, be he mineral, vegetable, or even you, Duffy. Goodbye.
Da-dang. So, there's actually, listening to quite a few episodes, there's actually some really clever use of language in later episodes where he'll use, mixed metaphors. He'll use this phrase called a malaprop.
Yeah, malapropism.
What is a malaprop?
I can't remember.
Okay, I'll look that up later. That's really
word.
So it's malaprop. So what's interesting again is the fact that it's a clever intro in terms of its authenticity. It's got a catchy slogan, distinctive voice, a simple premise which sets up a kind of interview thing where he's just the owner of the bar and people are coming in, so it gets him to interview celebrities and talk about entertainment news, so forth. So yeah, very, very successful series. What's also interesting is that it has been referenced in a number of pop culture pieces. It's considered to be the inspiration for the Cheers, 1980s Cheers situation comedy series. And indeed, it was co-created by James Burrows, who's the son of Duffy's Tavern co-creator, Abe Burrows. So yeah, again, Duffy's Tavern is seen as the progenitor of Cheers from the 1980s. As The Simpsons have a number of jokes set up around Duffy's Tavern. Moe, the bartender, for instance, deliberately shouts it out in an episode where he says Moe's Tavern, where the elite meet to drink instead of eat. Yeah. So yeah, quite a lot of interesting references. Now, given all of those strengths, did you want to go first with the piece you've created in tribute to?
If you want me to.
Duffy's, yep.
So what I've taken from this, from listening to Duffy's Tavern, is inputting a lot of bad jokes.
Yes. And
jokes that look at words being used in two different ways. To poor effect. So that's what I went with mine.
Excellent. Well, the floor is yours.
Okay. Let's hit the floor. Hi, hello. You've reached Media Mothership with Dr. Craig and Lord Taylor. It's Lord Taylor here. Dr. Craig's busy being a dancing queen. He's gone off to see the abattoir. How can I help? Hello, Dr. Craig. I didn't recognise your voice. Yes, everything's going well. I thought you were at the abattoir. Oh, the abattoir. What were you doing there? You wanted to see if venison came from Venice. Oh, well, I don't know. When it comes to Venetians, I'm blind on the issue. Media Mothership is going spiffingly while you're away. Actually, I noticed that there's a little bit of trouble with the microphones. Every time I sneeze, it says bilge pump afterwards. I'll demonstrate. Let me just sprinkle some white pepper over everything. There we go. Okay. Achoo!
Bilge pump.
Achoo!
Bilge pump.
We also got some more hate mail. I returned it back to your wife, like last time. Achoo!
Bilge pump.
Also, I attempted to replace you with an AI. Hope you don't mind. Would you like to meet him?
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Craig 2.0. In my spare time, I like to count to 10 and dance naked in the university corridor.
Sorry, Craig, but as you can hear, he's just better than you. And Craig 2.0 just really appreciates my cooking. So you're just going to have to be replaced. After what you said about my beef brisket. Dry? It was covered in gravy. What's wrong with you?
Exactly. Lord Taylor makes excellent profiteroles.
There we go. This is what true appreciation looks like. And when you...
Hey, what's this stuff?
It's white pepper, Dr. Craig 2.0.
Ah, chew.
Bilge pump.
What is that? That theater of the mind.
Yeah,
that is real theater of the mind. Bilge pump.
Yeah.
Was that random?
Yeah, it was random. It was heavily... my humour is heavily influenced from, like, Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer. So
Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer.
Yeah.
Where would I know them from? What are some of the pieces they've created?
Reeves and Mortimer. They've been on, like, Would I Lie to You a couple of times.
Ah, yes. Okay, yes. That BBC comedy show where, yes, they have to guess whether or not what they're saying is true or not.
Yes.
Yep, that's quite good. Peep Show. The Peep Show guys are on it sometimes. Mitchell?
Yeah.
Webb? Yes. Yeah, okay, yeah, it was absurd.
Yes. absurdist comedy.
Okay, and it definitely, I like the fact that it did set up the phone call. So it had that very important ingredient from Duffy's Tavern. What was the background sound? Because it sounded just odd. It was like an office setting.
The particular sound effect that I used was atmosphere from a Korean library.
Wow, atmosphere from a Korean library. I love that. That's quite deep because I would never have guessed that. But now knowing it's a Korean library vibe makes it even odder because you're delivering it as kind of the radio show and there's a phone call that's come in. I thought the gags landed as well as they do in Duffy's Tavern.
Excellent.
What was it? Because we had the mail, the hate mail,
Yeah.
return to the wife, ho ho, and what were the other? Was there any other forgettable joke?
Well, it is forgettable, obviously. There was the Venice from
What was the abattoir? So
Abattoir.
Abattoir sounds like going
Abattoir.
on a tour to Abbott.
No,
Is
ABBA.
that the joke? Abattoir.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. I could hear Abbott tour, and I was thinking, is it a tour to Abbott? But I wasn't clever enough to get ABBA tour. So you thought, yes, I was going to which is a good, it might be a malaprop. And the definition of malaprop is, which mistaken use of an incorrect word in place of a word with a similar sound, resulting in a nonsensical, sometimes humorous utterance. For example, saying his hits from both sides of the plate, his amphibious, instead of his ambidextrous.
Oh, right.
He hits from both sides of the plate. Oh, he's a baseball player.
Yeah.
I was thinking, is he eating something? Hitting? No. So he's a baseball player, and he says he's amphibious rather than ambidextrous. Yeah. So here we have abattoir rather than abattoir. Mm-hmm. And then that leads to another joke about me wanting to see if veal comes from...
Venison.
Venison comes from Venice.
Because Venice...
Which is another malaprop.
Sun. Venice sun.
Ah.
So therefore comes from Venice.
Yeah, Venice sun, the son of Venice.
And then, of course, there's the... with Venetians, I'm blind on the issue as well.
Venetian blind.
Correct.
Yeah, it feels like work.
It definitely is.
That is hard work.
We got a text in.
Oh, yeah.
It says, "Love it. Great work, Lord." Well, thank you very much.
Is that one of your chatbots that you programmed? No. Well, no, thank you, real person, for that. But wait until mine releases now to the flood of comments that will be received from it. I liked it. I applaud its absurdity and the Korean library. The Korean library was a standout for me. All right. So here's mine. So mine I set up around the idea of having an announcer first say what's happening. Because there were a couple of different routines I was going to. I was torn between two different scripts. One is the script that I went with. The other script I was going to do, which was that Duffy's Tavern sponsors us.
Oh, right.
And
yeah.
that they're calling in to cancel our sponsorship, which I might still do. Because actually saying that, it sounds better than what I went with. But that was one. So what it was going to be was a phone call to us in the studio from Duffy's Tavern, cancelling the sponsorship, which led to a bad joke.
Yeah.
But instead, I went with the characters. So this is more of a fan fiction piece, where the characters from Duffy's Tavern are doing the show.
Daffy's Tavern. Daffy Duck.
I didn't want to get into copyright breach. It's like the off-brand Daffy's Tavern. In mine, it's fanfic where the Duffy's Tavern manager has had to take over for us and do the show. So the intro is setting up around, here's Media Mothership, and the host is the Duffy's Tavern host. And just the intro. So it's exhausting just saying that. So we'll see if it works. Here's mine. I'll play it back from zero. Here is my tribute to the Duffy's Tavern comedy radio dramas from the 1940s for Media Mothership.
Duffy's Tavern, where the elite meet to eat. Duffy ain't here, but Archie is, and he's got a special treat for you tonight. He's hosting Media Mothership, the show that brings you the latest news and views from the world of entertainment. And now, here he is, the man who knows everything about showbiz, Archie.
Welcome to Duffy's Tavern, where the beer is cold and the talk is hot. I'm your host, Archie, the man with the plan and the brain with the strain. We've got a show for you tonight that'll knock your socks off and make your head spin like a top. So sit tight and loosen your belt, because we're about to serve up some verbal vittles that'll leave you licking your lips and scratching your head. We've got a mixed bag of guests tonight, from the high and mighty to the low and flighty. So grab a cold one and settle in, because it's gonna be a wild ride here at Duffy's Tavern.
Grab a cold one.
Yes. So, what did you think?
The laugh track is what made it funny.
Really is interesting, isn't it? Once you put a laugh track behind something, it prompts you to laugh, right? Even if there's nothing to laugh at.
Exactly.
You can see how effective canned laughter is to generate laughter and how much of a crutch it can be. That one of the things I love on YouTube is where they'll remove the laugh track from. There's a famous one with Friends where they've removed the laugh track of Ross's routine with the sandwich episode. Remove the laugh track, and he sounds really murderous, like he's a killer. And it's because all the heavy lifting of this as a comedy is the laugh track. Without the laugh track, it's actually horror. So with this, it's rescued. Yes, it is rescued by the laugh track.
But at the same time, like going back to your previous point that was just you were just saying, is I saw it was a video of The Big Bang Theory, which I don't particularly enjoy it. But they replaced the laugh track with Ricky Gervais's laughs. And it just makes it absolutely hilarious because he just laughs way too much at really poor jokes.
And because it's interesting putting this one together because for a while I had an edit of it which had normal crowd laughter, and then I just did child laughter, which is just one child laughing. And
that's creepy.
Yeah, it didn't land, but maybe the me keeping it in, the non-landingness of it, makes it into something more interesting. It was interesting because it didn't land and it didn't feel that it drew enough attention to it.
Yeah.
So it's a really difficult art to get to, that kind of like you choose something deliberately to be creepy, even though it's conforming to the conventions. There should be laughter here. You put a laugh in, but it's the wrong type of laugh.
Yeah.
Like the Ricky Gervais laugh. And because of that, it creates an uncanniness to it, an uncomfort to it, like, very much AI art.
Yeah.
Because it's breaking the convention in a way that's difficult to put your finger on. But the laugh track works well. The thing that I found fun doing it, that I took some pleasure in, was having the scream at the end. Because it does slightly shift the genre somewhat, I felt, in terms of, like, it's also the fact that it sets it up with the joke around, you're in for a wild ride. So I thought thematically, roller coaster ride, scream track. But it does kind of create a bit of a theater of the mind for me, where everyone else up until that point was a studio audience for bad comedy, but then maybe something's happened to them. Right? The floor's opened up, and they've gone into the mincer.
Fair enough.
Did you theater of mind that? No?
When I was listening to it, when there was the screaming, to me, it just seemed like an excited scream.
Yeah, Beatles scream. Right.
Yeah, Beatles scream sort of thing. Yeah. We got another text in.
Yeah. Thank you for SMSing the agreement for that. Yes, the laugh track definitely made it. In fact, in many ways, what was interesting listening to yours deliberately bad joked creation was that it was cringeworthy because of a lack of laugh track. Like you weren't given any outlet to. Like it's interesting. A laugh track for mine, which has equally poor. In fact, it's a much less developed comedy in terms of I don't think there were any malapropes. It was all very kind of just standard, phrasing or metaphors. But the laugh track kind of like keeps it upbeat, whereas yours, it just
uncomfortable. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm obsessed with watching the US Office, so I guess that's kind of
right.
going
that
into
cringe.
my... Yeah.
And because you chose the background music of a Korean library, which I think I felt that oppressiveness of a library, right? You're not meant to be talking, but you are talking. So maybe what I was picking up there was the background hum was guilty background humming.
Yeah.
Like it was like, particularly Korea, right? You should abide by the rules. I could feel a oppressiveness towards it. Like sometimes that background white noise can be relaxing, soothing, help you fall asleep. But your choice, kind of David Lynch almost. It was almost a juxtaposition rather than, Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, mine, I guess, comes across a little more conventionally.
It does, yes, definitely.
Yeah, mainly because of the laugh track.
But also, sort of more introduction as well.
Yeah, the setup is a conventional intro. And also all AI scripted. And AI voiced. Right, so what's interesting here is that the AI voice, I think, as soon as I heard the first two different software companies I got to create mine. One was that one you always talk about through the free license that you can get. That does really nice.
Play.ht.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one is just Clipchamp.
Yeah.
Grabbing one of the free ones, which is still fine, but then upping it to the excitement setting.
Yeah.
And it just gets it wrong slightly, wonderfully wrong. Because the problem I found with the more expensive model is I couldn't get an excited voice.
Yeah, that's true.
They all deliver rather like for narration or advertising. But we're out of time.
We're out of time.
This is K-Pop Unlimited now.
Yeah.
So keep listening to K-Pop Unlimited here on Edge Radio 99.3. Anyway, this has been Media Mothership with Dr. Craig saying bye now.
Same with Lord Taylor.
And keep listening immediately because we're now K-Pop Unlimited.
Yeah.
After I press play.